Greetings, greetings, greetings. Peace, peace, peace. Let's see if I can wipe this camera. Yes. I feel like this shit is gonna slide out. Y'all bear with me. Oh. Okay, I'm just trusting, hoping this don't slide out. Boy, the Kroger. Okay. That camera slide out, I know. One thing. Okay. Greetings, 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 peace, and greetings to all. As y'all can see, the masterpiecing is finally complete. And yes, I want to give y'all like a close-up of everything. Shout out to everybody who followed me during this process. Those of you that just now are seeing this, this masterpiece took a lot of everything for me to get here presently. And man, it just says a lot. And by the way, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know this masterpiece is now available. And for those that are inquiring about it or wondering, it is available. And I don't even know how I want to position myself. I'm not sure yet about like a website and so forth. I really like just doing things my own unique and authentic way. So I'm not sure about that yet. That probably will be in the process. But shout out to everybody. Much love to everybody. I want to say this masterpiece is I want to say this is probably about 48 this way, 48 inches, and probably about 24 that way, 24. So it is a good size masterpiece. You know, me standing beside it or sitting beside it, you can see that like it's a great size. And for someone's home. But anywho, it is available, and you could email me in my description. I'm not sure if it's in my bio, it may be. But those that are inquiring about it and wondering, yes, it is available. And we will discuss details at my email, which is innerchild, that's with an I, at 138, innerchild138 at iClouds.com. So I'll probably put this in the description or so forth. But yeah, that's not even the topic at hand. Let's give honor to Source, to the Creator, the Most High, Divine Mother, Divine Father, ancestors known and unknown, and so forth. So yeah, woo. I really wanted to talk about this. Trying to see how the lighting is. I really wanted to talk about this like last night when I got like clarity on something, and really discuss my this is a huge topic because it was like eating at me. I was like, do I feel like I should talk about this or what? But I told myself yes. I told myself, because it relates so much to the process even of this masterpiece, and how now that whole rebirthing process, now those who have been following me along, how I have talked about a lot of things regarding my traumas, regarding my own growth, and where you see me at presently. And so this topic at hand has a lot to do with, and I'll probably go into a lot of details about certain things related to this. This topic, man, let me tell you. I really feel like you don't hear a lot of men talk about this or discuss this, because it's kind of normalized when it comes to women discussing this. And this is not categorizing anyone. It's just normalized for women to really talk about their abstinence or even sexual traumas, even, things related to sexual orientation or identity, or, just preferences prefaces and just anything in that department or like aspect of our sensualities, sexual preference. Again, going back to how certain things, to where if a man discusses it in a way, it can be automatically looked at like predatorial in a way, or not really as valuable, when it is coming from a man in a way that really is discussing these things. It won't be taken as serious. That's how I feel. But I'm gonna talk my shit. I'm gonna like really let y'all know the ins and out, because the beauty of it is that I know myself to be like, it's okay to be the first to talk about something. It's okay to be the first to discuss matters like this and not really be concerned how people are going to feel, but bring more enlightenment and awareness to the fact that men go through this journey as well. And that journey in this topic is a journey of being celibate or abstinence, and literally for an intention. And so for me, before I dive into that, this is just breaking down the illusions and stereotypes of like, we go through this. Men go through this, and you're seeing a lot of things being highlighted now where a lot of men are now, you hear this term like soft journey or going into that soft era. But in reality, it's like a lot of things women do, we do it. We just do it in a more logical aspect. Women may do it more emotional. It's not to say we both are not emotional and logic. It's more so we do things pertaining to a certain part of the brain. We use more of a certain brain side of our brain than women do. That's just my opinion. But in reality, again, a lot of things, like I said, women are the first teachers. So a lot of things we've learned or are learning and will learn, a lot of that wisdom, we may know things as a man, but a lot of I realized my wisdom came through seeing from the experience of how women approach things, what they go through, how they navigate it, and so forth. So I see there is no separation when it comes to women and men. We're learning through both, we're learning through each other. We're like literally reflections of each other. And, this man can carry more masculine energy, not to say he doesn't have feminine energy. And this woman, can be opposite of that. She can carry more feminine energy. And so naturally, they're going to balance each other out some way, or they come together so they can either neutralize each other, so they both can balance each other out. So the beauty of this masterpiece and the topic of even pertaining to being abstinent, so if you want to call it celibacy, because there could be a difference. I just know that when I did take this journey in, I want to say 2001, I want to say it was late, like mid 2001. And this was immediately after parting ways with a partner, a lover, or, the mother of my child. And, from that phase, I'm going to just go into detail where I was in a position where I had to really, I really, due to this split or that departure, I had to really at that moment where I recall, like, really learn what it is to be self-sufficient and, self-reliable, because that right there, when there is a partner in ways and here you are, normally around someone, a lot of things we don't see again until we're not in, not around or in that connection, that relationship, and so forth. So a lot of things for me really highlighted when this first began. It really highlighted my own abandonment issues and my own abandonment when it came to emotion, codependency. It really highlighted a lot of things that at that moment, years prior to that, when I was a child with sexual traumas, sexual abuse, physically, verbally, and so forth, all of that played a major role even leading up to that journey of being celibate. So for the most part, let's go into the details of childhood. Before this split happened in 2001, before I actually was initiated in that being celibate journey. So, because this is like, I got to really be detailed and, really be intentional about this, because it's like a puzzle piece. So, or a big puzzle in a way. So the childhood experiences where I was touched on early by a woman, and again, knowing that I felt uncomfortable, and now being more aware how I needed a mother there to protect me, or I needed someone there to protect me from things as such. Because as a child, you're innocent and there's no one to protect you, so you automatically like, okay, you didn't know as you gradually go older or gradually come into your adulthood that these things would be highlighted and how they play a major role in the development process of your relationship because of that child development stage. So being there in the earlier years, these things happening, for those that don't know, like there was my mother's friend who would like grope me in a way or basically forcefully kiss me like on my face and so forth. And basically not just that, it would just be an ongoing thing when I would just come around and so forth. And with that, I recall also certain households where I was exposed to my mother's like sexual antics or deeds. And what I mean by that is like, my room was next door to my mother's when I was like, I definitely was in elementary school, and this was before we moved to a whole nother environment. I could just hear, what now, like mother and father, or the mother and her boyfriend like having sex, and you can just hear the noise, stuff replaying in your mind. You're like, now it's like a lot of us, or I know myself, was exposed to a lot of things sexually early. There was no type of responsibility. There was no caution. There was no type of, preparation for me to be like, oh, this is what this is. But, not really knowing what that was, but it's just the exposure to it. It's just like, a little young boy being exposed to, if you want to use the term PORN, ORN, if you want, I'm going to just call it that because I don't know if they're going to flag me for it or whatever like that. But just being exposed to things like that really can shape the mindset of how men view women. And so those childhood experiences, like this was something that was normalized, where you can hear not only the sexual things, but the physical abuse. Like you would hear them fighting in the room. So, and that played a major role in how I also developed this being a process throughout the years in relationships. And it wasn't all relationship, but developed this process of that's how relationships function. So with that being said, those childhood experiences and traumas, what I remember, because it wasn't just my mother, it was just even now I know now, there were moments where I was, kids just know like, what we know now, even the scent or the smell of sex. So there were exposure to people that I knew that you knew what they were doing, or you knew the scent, even though you never engaged in it, even though you never knew nothing about it. And not only just that, it was just the fact of like, me being in middle school in the early 2000s, I think it was around that year. You know how you try to calculate stuff. But a lot of the demographics or places I grew up in, there was an overhaul or over-sexualization and devaluing of women that are darker from what I've seen from my experience. And so for me, again, this is childhood development. This is how you're like learning a process of who it is you're going to become as a young man from from childhood, from a little boy to, you know, middle school, so forth, teenage, where you really become more aware. And that's why the first 7 years of our lives are so vital, because during that like first 7 years, those 0 to we're in the womb until we're actually like 3, we're learning so much of child development. And through the age until 7, where we really come into this awareness, like consciously, of making our own decisions. Where we, and what I mean by that is like learning how to even put on our own clothes, feed ourselves, you know, have a deeper, more self-awareness around life. And that's the significance of even the first 7 years, and how every, like, this cycle continues. So, you know, I asked myself, like, even through the years where I can recall from the childhood memories, you know, those very things I remember vividly, because they at once upon a time haunted me. You know, those things that I could not run from. Those moments where, again, I was out with my mom, going to these crack houses, going to these environments where I had no idea what I was being exposed to. And not only that, it's just like early in the years of knowing how, you know, distorted and confusing my upbringing was, because of the experiences relating to sex, and not really having an opportunity to come into or blossom into what it is in a healthy way. You know, a lot of the traumas that I've experienced and others have experienced, we came into developing our sexual preferences, or even what it is to be, you know, to honor that in a respectful way, or in an honorable way, to where we can come into it in a holistic way or in a healthy way. It was stripped from us. It was robbed from us. So that experience affected how and what, you know, throughout all of my relationships until presently, till I became more aware after having a child. You know, became more aware of my behavior patterns, of my addictions, obsessions with sex, through the wounding and through the pain of what I experienced. And not just with the sexual traumas, but also the pain that I experienced, and how my viewpoint on women, coming from the woman and women that I was surrounded by, the woundedness, and just seeing how they interacted with men, how that affected, again, how even with men too, the men that I saw, you know, cousins and so forth, that viewed women, who, you know, how I would hear them talk and discuss women in such a devaluing manner, or in such a derogatory way. And again, it's like this was their wounding, but at the same moment, it had a lot to do with what they experienced or what they saw growing up. So here we are, let's say, you know, those are some of the childhood traumas and what I've experienced in some of the homes. Those exposures prepared me basically for porn addiction, you know, addiction, whatever you want to call it. It prepared me for things as such. It prepared me for unstable, emotionally unstable, sex-driven relationships. Even using that as a foundation, which is not sustainable, but a foundation basically coming from a wounded place. And this is where you can see in the youth, and what you can see what has been displayed karmically throughout so many years, because we're talking about people not knowing the value of who they are, and even the value of, you know, little girls knowing the value of their womb, mothers knowing the value of their womb, them, you know, not really knowing the truth of, you know, being in a confused state to where they're not even knowing what their value lies in. And so for me, again, being surrounded by people who you didn't see a lot of things broadcasted when it came to marriage. You were here to talks about virgins, but you seldomly even really connected with one, or someone who really knew what the value was when it really came to them being in tune with themselves and their emotions and so forth. my upbringing was not like that. Like, it's the reality. I'm not going to, like, play around. It's the reality. Like, yo, the music that I heard was a lot of, it wasn't something that was empowering. It wasn't something like, yeah, let's be real. When you look at the music, the artists and stuff that we grew up, and I'm in my 30s, mid 30s, you're talking about the stuff that we know that when you listening barely on the brink of, like, because I came in at 89, so barely on the brink of, like, the 80s, I listened to certain things, but I also was surrounded by men who I knew was wounded, but I saw them display their sex or, certain things aggressively towards women, or using it as a sense of a power dynamic. But in reality, I see it now as being powerless, because where I'm getting to is like how the celibacy journey really showed me the power within, rather than not realizing how much I was abusing my power, or learning from men and women who abuse their power, who even seeing women who emotionally manipulated men with their JJ, manipulated men with the fact of, like, oh, I got this, I'm gonna use this is power, yada yada yada. And then you're like sitting back and realizing, like, yo, it gotta be more than this. And so for me, again, I had cousins and stuff that had multiple baby mothers. It's not to judge nobody, but I start to realize, like, when you starting to get into things energetically, when you start to realize, like, how on a frequency aspect, and I tell myself this is my perception. It's like you're creating multiple outlets of karma with someone. And I saw that pattern. Again, I became aware of this when I saw my mother have multiple, kids by different men. And the thing is, it's not just on the physical aspect. I start to dig deeper and realize, like, what is the pattern here? What did she really know her value? What really happened? And so that led me to even becoming a part of, like, there's so many things I can tell you that prepared me for the journey in 2001. I'm just leading up to that. I'm giving y'all bits and pieces. It can sound like I'm ranting, but I'm just giving you the details from my experience of seeing the patterns with men and women, seeing the women and so forth that was wounded and never really had a sustainable relationship, never really had a relationship when it came to marriage. Hearing about the infidelity with men stepping out and so forth. Like I said, to each his own what other people do. It's none of my concern. I'm going back to the pattern that I've seen in my lineage, my past family, dynamics and so forth. Seeing cousins and stuff again. It's not that I'm trying to say that I'm better than nobody. I'm just able to recognize a generational curse or chain, break the generational chain and pattern of, disregarding or, the patterns of not seeing one's value in certain things. When it comes to value, internal value, I'm talking about pinpointing the fact of, learning what it is to have, semen retention, learning what it is to honor your emotions as a man, turning the table or a turning point in your life when you're choosing to do something for the first time. When the last time you did something for the first time, in a way, or when the last time you did something that no one else has in the family. So the things I'm discussing are pertaining to that. And so what's vital with that is that it highlights the fact of what I saw when you've seen certain failed marriages, or you've seen infidelity, or you've seen wounded women who did not speak to men in a healthy way because their internal battle or their father wounds that they didn't acknowledge. And you see this displayed in women that are 30, 40, 50, and so forth. And you're seeing how they're more consumed or attached to religion itself and not really knowing what it is to heal their inner wounds when it comes to, their emotions, when it comes to their spiritual well-being, mental well-being and physical well-being. So a lot of this journey that was initiated had a lot to do with me focusing on my well-being as a man. Because if I go up around people, when you're talking about music that is influencing people to just go out there, because on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, you're talking about connecting with people, not just intimately, on a physical level, but on a deeper level spiritually, when you're talking about soul ties, when you're talking about connecting with people you're not knowing on a deeper level, like you can take on a lot of things spiritually, and how that foundation of who they are, whatever they experience in their childhood, how that comes along with them. How you talking about connecting with someone, and you talking about from what in their lineage, matriarchally and patriarchally, that you don't ask about. Well, how is your relationship with your mother? How is your relationship with your father? And then you talking about connecting with someone and having and co-creating with them and not knowing any depth of who they are. So when I say I've seen the patterns, and when I say I've seen things to where I was like I could not ignore, I told myself, I'm like, yo, wow. Now I see the beauty in how a lot of this pain, individually and, throughout humanity, the collective consciousness or, things rising is to bring awareness to things as such. To bring awareness to the fact that when you are meeting someone, you don't really know what the spiritual warfare that they're going through, the vices, the generational curses that come with their family that if they're not aware of, that you're connecting to, and you don't even know, like, do you have the capacity, do you have the strength, do you have the awareness to even be aware that when you're connecting and you're co-creating with someone, that you're also creating from the karma of their lineage and the karma of your lineage, that you're coming together and co-creating and also creating karma as well. And that karma also, again, from the energetic aspect to experience a dharmic path. Research and learn about it. And so with that being said, not everyone is aware of that. Not everyone is willing to even come out of that. That's the courage when I say breaking generational chains and curses. It's like, I saw what was going on, and then I was even in a place where through my sexual trauma, I developed a sexual addiction. I developed because what I saw with my mother and father first, mother and stepfather first, I automatically was coming from a wounded place, or I automatically took on this perception of, okay, so when they fight and they had sex after, that's how you make up. Then, okay, the music. Okay, you fight, get back together, have sex. Sex is going to fix it all, because let's be real. Come on now. Let's be real what's been put out there. We know, and you hearing it straight from the horse's mouth as a man, in the last 100 years or whatever, or you can go further back than that, men have constantly believed, or in their belief system before they came to this awareness, that sex fixes all things. Yes. You're going to hear me confess it right here. What they say in the AA meeting. I like to say that this is a confession of, I've had a sex addiction, in the AAA, whatever they call it, yes, I like to acknowledge that. Because at a point in time on my journey, I actually assumed, let me get some water. I actually assumed that, or believed that sex was the all be all. I did. I ain't got no reason to shoot the shit with it. I ain't gonna lie. I did. But I'm not the only one, because there are women as well. We actually believe, because of the culture and the music that we were brought up on, that sex was going to fix everything. And don't even realize that was just deepening more of the emotional connection between you and someone. You're becoming more intimate. You're becoming more one. It really is something sacred. And that's the thing I'm going to get into. But I got to give y'all more details. See what I'm saying? See, for one, let's get to this topic. I question my sexuality because I'm not ashamed as a being or who I am. Having this human experience, I'm not ashamed or feel any guilt around that. I did when I came at a point in time where I realized, like, oh my God, it's like, what am I doing? I question my sexuality, my preferences, because again, through the development of what the relationships and being so wounded from women, I really got to a place where from being, you can use the term backstab or experiencing so many things, pain regarded to women, I could not trust. I didn't have trust in women for a while. There was no preparation. My mama didn't tell me that there was going to be other women out there not to hurt you. And I don't mean hurt you intentionally, but unintentionally, or have no awareness. You know, I didn't have a foundation that was authentic, be like, oh, that literally prepared me for a world that this is the reality. Because a lot of us young men, we go into something so young or so naive and not realizing like, yo, you do know like people are not going to give a pluck about you. There are people that are going to use you. And, you know, through all of that, I gathered a lot of pain and baggage. I gathered a lot of things in relationships when I thought I only knew to be intimate, or sex was going, you know, oh, I got to have the best. Yeah, yeah, y'all know, yeah. Oh, he got that, you know, when you hear a girl be like, oh, he got that good, and oh, girl, you know, really hearing like the dehumanation or the devalue in hearing somebody. Again, this was a part of me that really believed like this was something empowering. Hearing a woman like, oh, he got a girl, you know, here. And you know, that ego stroke or that false sense of empowerment as I see it now. From my perspective, as I see it now, oh girl, can you believe that? And oh girl, was it, you know, in reality, it's like, I told myself, it's like, I'm more than that. I have more to offer. But again, through the development and childhood development, we took on these narratives through music, through our environments, through where we, you know, the demographics of where we were stationed, where our roots were. We took on this narrative. Like I recall being in a girl or even a guy that was even a virgin was crucified. They was criticized for even just being a virgin. Or just not even, you know, for even trying to value that. They was crucified. Holla if you hear me. They was crucified for even trying to think like, oh, I'm going to wait to marry. You're talking about so much peer pressure around the fact of, man, you should do that, bro. You ain't the man. If you hearing the conversation growing up like, bro, yeah, bro. I mean, and I'm just going to be honest. I did not have, I'm going to admit, I was trying to have sex so young at, what was the earliest I was trying? I'm trying to recall. I know it was either between the ages of 13 and 15 that I was trying. I was trying with a girl, I remember specifically, but we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. And I was trying and it didn't go in. And I'm glad, because if it did, guess what would have happened? Y'all see that? That's what would have happened. I'm trying to make it look. That's what would have happened. Because you don't know what you're doing. And then let's say a lot of us, school don't prepare you for that. Come on. They just giving you the diagram like this and this, sexual education. That did nothing. It meant nothing because at home, you're seeing a whole different dialogue. At home, you're seeing a whole different thing. At home, you hearing it. From my experience, you hearing it. You're seeing people come in. Now you realize, like, you know, some of us knew your mama was hoeing around. Your mama, or not just your mama, your daddy was a pimp. All type stuff. This is the culture we grew up on. Like I said, I'm not judging. This is earth. This is earth. How live, you know, this is earth. Let's remember that, y'all. It's a lot of everything on earth. You ain't seen, you ain't even got to look at the news. Shit, you just go outside to see some stuff. What is going on? What is... Not to mention the conversation you used to hear. So I tried, and I'm glad it didn't happen. But at the same moment, again, I wasn't prepared for... I didn't have the, you know, from my woundedness, from being emotionally abandonment, physically abandonment, that made me gradually want to be in partnerships or relationship with women so fast. Because again, I was seeking out this acceptance, approval, or naturally attracting or unintentionally, attracting little girls around my age, like when we're young, here we are, like, little girls that's like, here I am as a little boy, and like my first kiss as a little boy, I'm kissing little girls in second grade. What is you doing? What was I doing? Not even knowing you. What? My first tongue kiss was in the second grade. Why I need to be knowing how to do that? It's wild, because I told myself, I'm like, yo, what? In the second grade? I kid you not. Ew, you doing that. Ew, hiding up under the slide. I remember first kiss in the second grade. I know a lot of y'all gonna laugh at this because y'all know some of y'all first thing was a boy. Second grade up under the slide at my elementary school. And, that's how you proclaim to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Then stuff like you at elementary school, a couple days later, you're like, they're not my boyfriend or girlfriend. What? You is passing letters, all types of stuff. Not to mention, let's talk about elementary school, middle school, all these things where you're hearing little boys and girls, like, already, you're hearing about their cherry being popped. You're hearing, you curious. You're like, what's that? And if you don't know, then you're outcasted. Like it is wild. You know how kids be like, oh man, it's like, yo, what did we grow up on? We don't even realize we grew up on a lot of stuff that never had value or substance. Until you're hearing about somebody, let's go off the deep end, until you hear about somebody, we didn't hear about HIV and STDs young. Special, what do you call it? Not special ed, but sexual ed, whatever you want to call it. That is, I think they might have mentioned stuff like that, but it was never detailed. It was never really like how I'm expressing. Like, you're talking about you don't even know what these children have already went through at home. A lot of them probably already been sexually abused, and they don't even know what it is. They're fighting with a spirit, a Jezebel, incubus, succubus, jinn, spirit. They're fighting with something that they don't even know the spirituality of what they're internally battling with. They don't even know who that they engage with had what. It's deep. This is gonna be one for the books. I already know it's beyond going viral. It's the fact of, like, what do we grow up on? I told you, when you come here, you're gonna get it authentic. It's raw. You know how you hit that first shot? Burn your chest. I'm talking about, like, it made me reflect on the fact of, like, you really don't know what these kids probably already was going through. Then you come to realize, like, I'm able to see, like, what, like, literally knowing my becoming more aware of my own sexual traumas, I can literally see from connections that I've experienced and, people in the past, they're battling with the same spiritual warfare or the same spiritual, if you want to call it, demon, trying to slay whatever it is they're trying to get past. And here it is, they thinking that their value comes through just giving themselves up from a wounded or empty place. Not knowing who they are. But they saw what mama did. They saw what daddy did. Or their abandonment issues. Things that they don't even internalize, don't even know what's going on. Things that they've taken on and that, psychologically that they went through. People who really have went through some deep traumas with their own relatives. Doing things. Knowing that my own relatives have done certain things to people. Is the reason why I speak about this shit. So I'm so passionate about it. Like I said, everyone's journey is not mine, but you would like, this is like a cover of a book, but you don't even know the pages. You don't even know the chapters and things that people have went through. I went through to even get here, to even have the courage to share this. You're talking about growing up in a culture and environments where I just naturally seen people embrace anger. I just naturally seen people abuse their power when it came to sex, when it comes to emotion, when it came to even religion, when it even came to stuff like that. And here you are, they're telling you, they're not even being honest with themselves. You're seeing women like literally having children that they don't even want. You're seeing men, I know men literally going out here impregnating women that they don't even want. They don't even want to have a child by. Having no intentions on really being with that person. And that's why I tell you about karma. That is an energy. You're exchanging energy. And so you're also creating karma. So it's like, it baffles me how people can create a child. And this is not everyone, because, you have circumstances where people, much love and healing to women, or people who have experienced some traumas where they didn't have this awareness, or they were forced upon and didn't know how to, get out of that, that loop of giving themselves away even after that trauma. That shit, it goes deep, because I was there. I was connecting with women like that after their experiences with being molested young, that they had so many partners that they couldn't even remember, or they didn't care to remember, because trauma in a way can have you numb yourself to where you don't even want to remember. That's repressed and suppressed and so forth. Research it. A lot of these traumas highlight the fact of it's stored in the body. It's stored so in the depths. And a lot of what I experienced with my woundedness, I saw how when I really got into porn, when I really got into I want to say like high school, in those stages of my life, it was weird, because I was proud to learn how to let go of my, what I know now is to be life force, or a part of me that creates life. And like I said, this is my perspective. I was like, yeah, I can do this now. Not knowing the knowledge of yeah, you can do this now, but you also can create a child from this. You can create a whole life. And that's the education. When I say school to teach you one thing, but they ain't teaching you that the fact of that this is the consequences if you lay down with this woman and so forth. And I recall even my first experience, because even though I was trying during those moments, I honestly was scared. I was scared. I was scared all the way up until my first moment when I did do something with someone, with this girl, and it was like, I was 20. And I had people criticize me, when I was young, because, what, you were 20? Yes, I was 20. 20. And I tell myself, if I can go back and take it back and have the knowledge and awareness I would now, I would, but I wouldn't in reality, because the beauty and the growth of internal, what I've seen now, is that I'm able to reflect back and look back on that version of me, and to be grateful, and to see you know what, that still is a part of me, but it no longer serves me. But it serves its purpose, as in me being grateful that, okay, little yellow jacket don't snuck in here. Being grateful that I can see that part of me that was coming from a wounded place, or didn't really know, a young boy that didn't really know the knowledge of you can create a life from it. Because my first time, I almost, yeah, it almost happened. Until I decided to put that, that thing, put that thing on there, to where I was like, okay, hold on. This might be important, just in case. But, even before that, it was wild how in neighborhoods where I grew up at, we would hear about a young girl that was giving fellatio. Those of you don't know, look it up. We was hearing about it, and I remember having the girl doing it to like 3 or 4 guys, like off in the woods somewhere. I'm giving y'all raw content you're never gonna get nowhere. And just hearing like the fact of you just seeing now how girls that didn't know their value, or really seeing this as being a prominent thing, like this is something to be proud of. Like we really, and the reason I say this now and I really talk about this is because how, it's not that I'm afraid at all. It's the responsibility of like me bringing awareness to this, is that having a princess, I'm not afraid at all for what could and could not happen, because of the simple fact that the things that I'm facing, her mother, her own individual journey. But for me to realize that I could bring more awareness in letting her know the importance of who she is, or, planting seeds of like, you're valuable, you're a womb, you have a life, you can create life, let her know the importance of, how magical she is, her womb, how valuable, even if it's like, because, gradually they will come into this age, they will come into this knowingness, which I kind of feel like as a child, we come in knowing things, but what the real thing is like training up a child, and not using the word like train, but, preparing them or being a guide in a healthy way, so she, our daughters, know the importance of them being life in itself, and can give life, it can speak life, and, going through those transformative phases, and also being mindful of what they see, what they listen to, who they're surrounding themselves by, which I realize when I say the mother being the first teacher, I see how my sisters, and seeing how women I know have been affected by the women in their environment. That because of their wounds, because of their pain, and they immediately target the little daughters and little girls. And when you see a society, you see the same thing. And it also affects young men such as myself when I was younger, because you're talking about wounded women, or women that don't know their worth, they know their value. So even though that there's, from my experience, not really the emotional depth to what me and my mother had, I still was seeing how she interacted with men, how she portrayed, or how she displayed her value, or what she thought she was worthy of. And in that moment, you got to pay attention, women especially, or just everyone. It's like your worth will show, seeing your childhood and where you see you are now. It's like, where can you say your value lies? So when I speak about that and core values and things as such, it's like, where is your worth, and what is your worth? Does that define you, or how is that valuable? What is that, sustainable? Is that foundation that you're currently in sustainable? Does it have valuable emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, when it comes to yourself, and then the partners, and then the business, and so forth, expanding all around that. So I have to be aware that seeing the patterns of the women in their relationship with their mothers, their relationship with their fathers. So I'm like, okay, that's something I have to change here. So me leading up to even the fact of, what I experienced in high school, even into my earlier 20s, how I was connected with women with kids. A lot of these things with the trauma was so connected to the mother womb, the sexual traumas, the physical, verbal, and all those things, abuse and neglect, all of those things was transformative that led me up to 2021, where I was called to just, as the mother of my child, we parted ways. It allowed me to really sit with myself. At the time, I didn't even really was focused on, being celibate. How I came into it had a lot to do with me facing first the abandonment issues of when we did part ways, that really brought awareness. Come on, Fly, go out. It really brought awareness to the mother wound within myself. Because when they parted ways, it had a lot to do with the fears around my own subconscious fears of being alone, of physically being abandoned. What else? The emotional abandonment. You know, all these things I've internalized to that very moment where I didn't feel like, oh, I had access, or, you know, or things being stripped away where I could not feel like I could do things on my own, or just regulate a lot of things. So it forced me to really go within myself. I still was creating, and I still I repressed a lot of things. But in that moment, you know, that experience was so important for me, because through that distance and through that departure really highlighted how much I needed to pour into myself as a man, or how much that I neglected and how much I needed to see myself. So I was celibate for like almost 2.5 years. Yes. But let me tell you the experience of that. 6 teeth. So what this did, the beginning of that, again, I was with myself until I had to start over fresh again, and I was called back to near to my hometown. And for the life of me, I could not focus on nothing else but, you know, wanting to be in the presence of the mother of my child, you know, her and my daughter again. But I still was creating. This is how, because when that happened, I actually started my channel. It was in 2021. I started my channel, and then, you know, I was, again, it's wild because I was reflecting on it, and I'm like still intentionally talking about stuff. And you can see the growth from that moment to presently, even with the masterpieces, like literally here today. And so with that process, it's like when I started it, and then months after that, I returned to my near my hometown and settled back in with my mom. And what that was doing, it was highlighting the traumas where everything initially began, or everything was enabled. You know, I was creating something. I was trying to rebuild my self-esteem, my emotions, my well-being. And through that whole process, I was creating videos, I was creating masterpieces and so forth. And through this timeline, timeline, most people didn't know there was no communication. You know, I never really shared this with nobody, but there was no communication with the mother of my child, and, you know, and my daughter. So, and this was a 2.5 like peak or timeline, whatever. And that'll probably be another video I'll go into, talking about what even led up to that. Like, because I just say everything had to happen for what it is, because I wouldn't be here today sharing it with y'all. So even through that whole 2.5 year process, I was, from, you know, months later, 21 and going into 22 and so forth. That was a lot that transpired. And my videos just tell you about that. Like, just the videos, the content. I was trying to do everything to like refocus myself to get back to where I needed to be emotionally, mentally, so forth. Because again, I didn't know at the time that what I knew now was it was really helping me. Well, it was really highlighting the connection with my mother that I never had. You know, there was a lot of things the both of us were, I know now that she was avoiding, but I knew that it was really highlighting the foundations of what our relationship really began with. And I mean by that, it's like even how it transpired from being in a home to where she got evicted later, probably months later on down the line. And through that whole process, you know, I would say that I was of emotional support in a way, until, you know, my videos will tell you like how we even ended up in a hotel, and she, you know, in this hotel room, and she had a bed, I had a bed. But again, through this whole process, no sex, no nothing. Because I just knew that it was told to me at a time from my elder, you know, that a moment like this was going to prepare me, or I was going to need to be prepared for something as such. And I needed to really focus on myself and not really go out there and try to build upon something with another woman. And it's crazy as it sounds, but in reality, it's like, that goes back to like, there was temptation. Doing that, I'm telling you, that celibate journey or abstinence, it is not for the faint of heart. Because when my mom and I, you know, that eviction happened, and she went through this thing to where we got into the hotel, and being in there for months on end, it's like my mind still was focused on what I was still creating, content and whatever. But I still like couldn't wrap my mind around being with another woman. That's just where I was. Because I just knew that at that moment, my mind was just focused on, I just really wanted to see my daughter. Like, it didn't matter what her mom was doing. I just got to that place of like, you know what? I still got to progress. And I'm trying to tell you, look at my videos. This was during the moment where I was getting up. I in a hotel, I had to go create. I got an opportunity to create murals in my hometown. This was when I had to really become more self-sufficient, to where I was like building my portfolio when it came to art, connecting with people, so forth. Really focus on my well-being. That's what it showed me. It highlighted my self-awareness around becoming more emotionally stable, becoming more emotionally secure. But I still was faced with temptation. I still was faced with women when I realized it was showing me that didn't see my value. That's what it was showing me. Because in the presence of being in that hotel room with myself and my mom, and again, this is not devaluing, this is just calling it out. You know, I saw things to where that was just disrespect in a way to where it really showed me that she was the mother, like she was still focused on not really knowing her worth and seeing multiple men and just doing things that it's like no self-respect, no value for her well-being, emotionally, mentally, physically. And I know that she was still going through things, because trying to cope and accept the fact of losing, you know, or not having the foundation she had before. And I know it just like, again, I can't tell someone what to go through and how to go through it. But that journey just showed me like, this is what you need not do. Because that pattern showed me where I learned it from. Because see, most people think like we learn as men, we learn stuff from men first. No, we learn, mother is the first teacher. We learn, that's why it's so important. Is that I had to see the fact that this woman has been doing this for years, trauma bonding, you know, just giving herself over to men because she don't know her worth, and she think that that's something that is going to make them stay or going to make them value her more. And you see this paraded in the music and so forth, and you see this projected onto our little girls so much, because people don't realize, like, you got to realize, like, eventually, like, long down the line, these little girls that you think that isn't important, they're going to think that is a way of, that's going to develop their belief systems or their value systems, their internalized thing that you think that you're showing and they're taking in and receiving and hearing and so forth through music, through their environments and so everything. They're going to take on this narrative and basically live a lie because they saw their mother live a lie. They know their mother didn't want to do that. They know their mother didn't want to lay down for money. They know their mother or somebody didn't want to lay down for that drugs and stuff. I saw this. I saw it firsthand. I was in that environment in the hotel. I knew women. Let me tell you something. I was put on a path to where I was celibate during a time where I had to be the most powerful and disciplined with myself, because I was in a vulnerable place. I was in such a vulnerable place because I was so concerned about where my child was, where her mother, they were safe, so forth. I was such in a vulnerable place to where not only was the mother that I experienced doing her own thing, it was highlighting the root of what I saw, the root of my wounding and who I learned it from. But it also showed me like there were so many other women that I was faced with. There was women that I was meeting, that I was talking to and so forth. They were in vulnerable places. It's not to attack them, but I was aware of the journey I was on. I was even, I was talking to women that was even prostitutes. Like, this is the thing that I was like, that was on my path in these moments. I was attracting aspects of myself that reflected back to me these people also. Like, I was able to put myself there. They were also had either dealt with some type of sexual trauma, or they have some type of abandonment issue, some type of physical, verbal, some type of abuse. There were so many things that it showed me different versions or aspects of myself that whether I was attracting or just came along my path for me to see. And I could not judge them. There was people that lived in these hotels that was going through things, that did not have a home, that this was their new home. There was people that were there that I knew. They may not have known I known, but there was women I know that was attracted to me. But I knew that it was just on a physical level. It was not on something that was sustainable. That's how I became more aware on my celibate journey. I was already a year or something in, until I became more aware, like, hold on. And through that, again, I was still facing a battle with on PORN, like ORN. Like, I was facing that battle because certain times I didn't want to, I'm gonna be real. There were certain moments where it's like I couldn't bring myself to do it, until where I was like, well, maybe, let me put my energy towards this first. Let me get on here, because I just couldn't bring myself to be intimate with someone, because that's how focused I was on that journey. I just couldn't bring myself to be intimate, because I just knew that as I was developing my self-awareness and self-worth, this was a part of my process to where that discipline was showing me that I could not lower my standards or devalue myself just for that. And to who? A complete stranger, and then not even knowing who they've connected with, not even knowing what comes with them spiritually, not even knowing their intentions. Sometimes, I'm grateful to have a spirit of discernment, because I can intuitively know, like, this is all about a conversation. That's how I became. The deeper the awareness became, as more I gradually became into something. And we are all on different aspects of our journey, but the more I became, what my celibate journey showed me is that I became more aware of women and men, because I'm gonna get into that too. Women and men who only wanted to build things on a physical level, or only saw you on a physical attractive level. And sometimes it was through their own woundedness, or sometimes that's all they really wanted. But they just weren't gonna get it from me. Because again, I had experiences already where in past relationships, that I connected with people who have dealt with sexual trauma, who they've been lying to themselves, but due to this false identity, this false foundation that they created, that's the all be all, that's what they have, they made a career around it. They use money to lure people. I was faced with so much doing these before and when I walked into that journey of being celibate. So that being said, when the hotel experience was, I was seeing people I knew. It was even to the point where when I was celibate, when I wasn't even trying to do nothing with someone, there was false accusations, there was projections like, oh, he got to be gay, he got to, it was so many things to where you saw people's shadows, their deepest insecurities really come out about something that they was internalized, or they just became very angry, or something within them. Something within them just came very bothered just because I did not want to give myself over, because I knew my worth. I was coming into knowing who I was, because I didn't feel, I already made a decision that if I was going to do something with someone, that my awareness, my maturity, my emotional intelligence was like, I didn't feel like I was going to do something until I met up with the mother of my child, because I knew me. I knew me. Like, it wasn't worth at that moment to just give it up, and then the possibility that young boys don't know about. I had to talk to my nephew about this. The possibility of you meeting a little girl and you whipping your little stuff out, and you know what I'm saying, my boy, blue. I had to talk with him. Like, yeah, you at this age where you can but you know I'm using the and you know that, you know what I'm saying? That's the possibility. So I didn't get that talk. I didn't get that pep talk. I didn't get that pep talk. I didn't get that pep talk, yo. Because at a point in time, we thought that this was, oh, you ain't the man if you don't have this. You ain't the man if you don't have all these superficial shit. You ain't the man. But wasn't nobody bragging about, like, you ain't the man if you don't take care of yourself. If you don't take care of your well-being. You ain't the man if you don't take care of yourself and the child that you help co-create. Like I said, I'm speaking for me. Where is the empowerment in that? So that hotel experience and all those things really showed me. It really showed me before I was initiated into that journey. It showed me how, where a lot of the things that I carry, the traumas, the woundedness, a lot of those foundations fell apart with those women. Those self-sabotaging patterns that I had was rooted in pain, was rooted in woundedness. From a little boy to now, I could not ignore, so the illusions was falling away. And so, you know, how long was we at that hotel? I just know the duration we were there, I was faced with so much, to where there was moments where I was, and I'm grateful now, because it showed me the discipline and the reward in the journey. And it's not to say people don't have shortcomings and slip up, but I was even tested with certain, like, and I'm just be honest, just like, because again, going back to questioning my sexuality and me not being able to trust women, in the past, I developed relationship with men because that's what I could confide in. I'm not ashamed of that. It's because I could not. I experienced so much woundedness. I could care less what people call it or call me or whatever. It's how you see a lot. Because I'm telling you, these are men. There are men out there such as myself that you're wondering why. You are questioning why that. You're the down low men or whatever you want to call it. If I sit down with these men, and normally I can see who really doing it, because they'll portray this over hyper masculine aspect of themselves, or try to portray like they're so strong and powerful, but in reality, they could be the most wounded. And you will see them typically being an experience with a man that is hidden. So what women call down low is just a man who really is trying to seek out some type of peace that he can't get with you, or he hasn't gotten from his mother, going back to the root of it, or most importantly, he's going somewhere where he can find a peace of mind, where he can find peace with someone else. And typically what you see, what will probably happen or has happened, is that if these men haven't been sexually abused while they were young, by a man or a woman, if they're in a relationship dynamic depending on their woundedness with a woman, or with their mother, they have motherly wounds, depending on their relationship development or whatever it is, I don't care if they're married or not, or been in a relationship for so long, a lot of these terms you hear when a lot of men are around, a lot of their homeboys, or they hanging out with them a lot, most of the time what you don't see or what's going to happen is that they're interacting with them And sometimes it's like what you don't realize, women, is that it's not just about, before it even probably comes to a sexual thing, there is still an intimate setting with a man, because of you can communicate effectively without being judged, without being, it's basically without being judged or without being devalued. So, and then sometimes most of these little young boys and men are around boys who have been sexually abused. And you just don't know the dynamic of how a lot of these men became who they become. We just immediately judge them. You're just another woman, and I'm holding people accountable. You're just another woman that is projecting onto him, calling him out his name, and so forth, and wondering why a lot of these men turn their back on women because they can't trust them. You literally have a lot of this out there in the world where women don't take accountability. And it's not just pointing out women, because I'm going to get to men too. Where women don't take accountability. They don't take accountability, or they haven't been shown to take accountability. And so you see these relationships develop between men is because sometimes the other man maybe have more feminine energy. So he can communicate to them effectively. I'm giving y'all the ins and outs to where a lot of things you don't know, but as a man that you will never hear men talk about. Because I either experienced it or I've been around people. Most men won't, they are secure within themselves to even be around men that are, want to live a life that may not pertain to, that portrays as a man. Because truthfully, I'm not judging people that live that way, because I know people personally. What it reflects down to is that it's one thing when someone questions their sexuality because of their own insecurities or because of their own in denials or because most of the time their traumas. Then one thing when a man that is secure emotionally, who has experienced things related to his trauma, that led him to see why he went down that road to become who he is presently, or to even go down those roads to see not only what no longer serves him, but to become aware of his sexual traumas and to see what led him into those relationships, to see why that now becoming more of having a worthiness and his well-being. And I don't just mean emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It's the fact of you're talking about people who aren't aware to where they're just having multiple partners and risking the possibility of exchanging STDs, spiritual things. All these things, again, there is no awareness around their well-being. So a lot of these two different men are, they're unique. But you're talking about one that is evolved and one that is wounded. I was both. I was the wounded one that did not know, that was curious, because again, me questioning my sexuality had nothing to do with me being around a man or woman. It's what I saw. It's what I also didn't have knowledge of. It's what I also did not have discipline in. It's also how I realized me being in a relationship or going down that road with men, I knew deep down, because it was about lying to myself, I knew deep down that I did not want to do that. I did not want to engage in that. Because I knew deep within myself that I was here to create children. I was here to continue a legacy. And so it's not to judge people who want to live their life with whomever it is. Again, from my own journey, I was able to recognize the wounding. I was able to recognize the fact of why am I lying to myself? And then to try to put on this mask as if I'm trying to convince not only myself, but the other person and lead them astray. But deep down, sometimes they already knew. But again, you're talking about relationship dynamics where people feel like they can use you, or they feel like, it can be so many things. So getting back to the even questioning the sexuality and the addictions and stuff, is that I really thought that was my value. Until I became, celibate, I was faced with the women and men. This is natural for men who come off as attractive, or sometimes it's just your energy, your light. Some people want to feed off those things. Some people want to drain you of certain things, so it keeps you from your path. I wouldn't be here today if I did not become aware that the fact of I have to discipline myself. I have to be the first to go down this journey. I will be the first. It's scary because I'm telling you about that celibate journey. I was so scared because I didn't even know if I was going to. There was things where it was so many things coming up around the woundedness of what I experienced as a child. You know, I would get up, go work out. You know, the sense I was so in a vulnerable place to where I even thought about doing something with someone again. And still, the idea of like, am I willing to, is that a risk in it? How do I know this person ain't been with this person? This is stuff I'm telling women, I know women that have went through this journey, and men, but again, I don't know many men that really talk about this. But the fact of that, it's like, not only, you're talking about, I had to learn to be with myself. An intimate setting. Learn to be with myself and to develop more of a deeper awareness emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. To where it really showed me people that came up from my past in certain relationships, men and women, like really revealed themselves. And it just showed me the energy, the intention that they were still in, that this is all they wanted me for. And I was not surprised because I already knew that that's how the relationship or the foundation of it began. So this energy, the way it came in is the way it was going out. Whew! I'm telling you, so I was tested a lot. I don't even want to say tested. It was, this how I knew, like I'm telling y'all, it is wild. I would not be here today had I just given in to the idea of what people feel like they can offer me. Some may call it like making a deal with the devil in a way. But it was like these people came up and it's like certain things like I was presented with. And I'm talking about I was in a vulnerable place to where this was when we were out of the hotel, to where I was still finding myself. I didn't even have a place of residence. This was months before I got to where I am now. Didn't have a place of residence. I was walking the streets. I was doing my pains, getting money to get a hotel. And here comes someone, again, coming in as a savior. I'm not judging them. But as I sat back and observed, you know, they still was presenting me with the same thing. Like, oh, we can do this. You want to do this? But then I thought in my mind, like, again, it's not judging them. It's just the fact of like how I knew internally I've grown. But could I lie to myself? No. And I specifically would tell them I'm not doing anything with someone until I reconnect with my daughter. Because that was my focus. Because I knew, see, the celibate journey also showed me that whatever woman I was going to connect with had a significant role in my life. And she will also have a significant role in my daughter's life or whomever I was going to connect with. That's what a lot of that it really brought awareness to. You know, and that's why I used to know I would sit down with a lot of women a lot and be like, you know, I can really see why a woman it's difficult for a woman to start over. Because for one, you're talking about how much she's emotionally invested, which is energy, which is beyond money, emotionally, mentally invested, spiritually invested, and physically invested. And then not to mention women with kids. For them to automatically start all the way over, I can see why some women that are wounded and don't know the awareness around this will stay in relationships because they settle or they don't know their worth. So men too go through all of this. So I'm not comparing, but I just refuse to settle. I told myself I refuse to settle, and I refuse to let my worth, me seeing my worth through that journey, show me that that wasn't who I was anymore. And that was showing me how, you know, my self-worth, my value didn't lie in who I lie down with, or if I gave myself over to this. That's just, and again, through that journey, 2.5 years, I was tested with people trying to reconnect, people trying to do this. And I just saw it as like, you're just trying to drain me, or you just want this one thing. I don't care what you want to offer me. I don't care what you want to promise me, and so forth. I don't care. Like, it was that deep because I was coming into my own worthiness. I was coming into my own value. Again, you're talking about things from the past where I thought was valuable. And I'm sitting here learning my own self through this celibate journey. Through the fact that, like, if I reconnect, if I lay down with this woman, that this can happen. You know, there were moments I was close. I'm going to be honest. I was in bed, laying there. But I just could never bring myself to it. I was face to face with things with opposition to where I was just like, I could not bring myself to it. I had to get out of bed, go out, leave, and go lay at that time when I was at the hotel, lay in my own bed. This, like, I ain't trying to convince nobody to believe it. It's just what it is. Because everybody not like this. And I'm not trying to compare. It's just like, everyone don't have that discipline. That's where that spiritual strength comes in. Because I knew that would have not just set me back. I would have been creating a whole other karmic loop or a whole other timeline. This person came pregnant. I would have been, because that exchange sexually would have been, you talking about emotionally, mentally, so forth. And I just became aware of who the people, certain people, whether they was trying to do that or not, whether they was, really wanting to have conversations. I really got developed some great friendships or certain things with people because I just knew that I didn't have to do that. I knew that. That was my worthiness. I knew I didn't have to do that. And that's challenging for everybody. It's just like when people go on what you want to call it, a diet or whatever. It's discipline in that. It's a transition. It's not always easy. It's challenging, but it becomes more, a flow comes with it. I've done it before. I can do it again. It's like, and so with that, again, I was face to face with things like that. I just couldn't bring myself to it because as I sat back and observed, I just realized, like, no, and that's how you gotta be. When you know your worth, you gotta be like face to face, like, no, this stops today. And it was really, telling you. I had women and men, certain things that they just wanted to, and I just knew it showed me that's just all they wanted me for. And what I wasn't willing to do is create another foundation where I not only lied to myself or being dishonest, but I knew that was just gonna be it. And then it prepared me to know what I am, to know the awareness. Now it's like, now me preparing to build connections with women and men, but women especially, because when I look at the root cause of the mother wound, is to realize, like, I can build things with women that is valuable, on a friendship, partnership, business, things like that, to where it can be sustainable. I can be, use my spirit of discernment and know whose intentions are pure and whose intentions are just this, and to know when to just cut it off and be like, peace, whatever. You can feel whatever way you want to, but it is what it is. So that journey in itself was like, whoa. And it doesn't just stop there, because you still are going to be presented. That journey, the journey still, really highlights the fact of, in the past, of what you've seen going on, the music, what you see currently. And it's like, I'm not judging nobody because that's their path, but when it comes to me, when it comes to, like, really seeing how, if you want to make a change in your world, your reality, and so forth, it's like, what are you enabling? Why aren't we holding people, whomever they are, like, accountable for the fact to be like, I'm not even going to listen to this. Why aren't we bringing awareness to that and be like, you know what? This is the effects around why our kids or certain things happen this way. And you talking about cleaning it up and healing, you're going to have so many little girls and boys and whatever that have probably already experienced so much trauma. You got adults that never talked about or discussed it. And sometimes they are disgusted with themselves, or, don't know how to get out of it or emerge, or, I was reborn anew through, being celibate. And really, it really showed me where my relationships were, it really showed me my relationship were, most importantly, my relationship with myself and with the people that I developed certain things through. Whether it was through manipulation, emotional manipulation, whether it was through womanizing, abuse, so many things. Again, it's not just the sexual traumas, it's the traumas all the way around, to realize like, whoa. And that's one of the most important things that I can say, like, with my princess, that it has highlighted. It has shown me, like, I have a important role to, not just as her father or Baba, but as a masculine figure that, can reflect back to not just her mother and other women, but her seeing that healthy dialogue of, knowing how to build certain things with men, and that's why I realized, like, it's not perfect, but through that process, I encourage people, like I said, whatever you want to do, but I support being abstinence or substance for whatever intention it is, because it's no difference than someone going on a journey of, when you're healing, you just never know what it may call you to do. When you're even distancing yourself from people, you can be healing from emotional abandonment. You can be healing from toxic relationships. So many things. It's all energetic in a way. You're disciplining yourself from something, and then that reveals something to the depths of your soul, to your being, of like, it's gonna ask of you another version of yourself, and it prepared me and will prepare you for others that are waiting on your journey, that will love you for who you are and who you're becoming. Others that will align or connect with you in that way. That doesn't mean you're still not exempt from people who still want to come in and, remember, like, having the spirit of discernment, who want to act like they did inner work or pretend like they did all these things, but still are masking certain things where they know they just want to get in, and really we just want to get close just for that particular reason. A lot of women talk about that. I know y'all. Look, men, we there too. Like, where you think we learn this from? I be telling y'all all the time, like, we are powerful just like you are. We are valuable. We learn from y'all. And when a man is in tune, like, he realizes, like, there is a responsibility that comes with that. I realized that journey showed me there is a responsibility and a ripple effect on, like, I'm talking about all of the women that came before me too. Me changing that narrative of how the patriarchal that was represented in my family, what I saw, what I saw with the emotionally abusive, physically abusive, verbally, sexually, all those things, to where I got to be the one that changed that. That's a challenge. That is not as easy as what people think it is. You ain't just dealing with an artist. The artist is like, creation is inwardly and all the way around. This is rebirthing from that trauma, that pain, and being able to water myself and being able to align with those or connect with those who know the importance of that. Like, playtime is over with. Like, we can have fun, but playtime is over with, because, two of the people are on a journey like that. Rediscovering yourself, redefining yourself through and from your traumas. You got this. And you will get through this. It is beautiful. It is rewarding. It ain't even about, like, I used to think it was about the money I had and all this other stuff or whatever it is, just to feel like I needed to get a woman, to be accepted, to be embraced. All of those things were the shadow aspect, the dark aspect of what I hated but was hiding behind. Until I realized, like, the rewarding aspect is to see how I internalize a lot of things, and for it to come to this. This little boy symbolizes, like, the joy that I found in my, whether I was on my celibate journey, healing my emotions, facing my shadows, my fears, and so forth. in the lotus being birthed from the mud, the root of the water, the root coming, the flower emerging from the water, from the mud, and blossoming, and blooming in something, and, going to my own rhythm, a little boy that's playing the drum. And all the while, it's like, the universal source is like, I'm being poured into right now. Literally being poured into and onto. And so when I'm able to pour into myself, I'm able to help pour into others. And that's why I do what I do. It's like, this is my part of pouring into others and humanity. It's because, again, it's like, you got to realize, like, we cannot ignore, I just want to ignore the fact of what is actually happening. I give people actuality. I'm not going to give you fantasy. So from my experience, I need not to be ashamed or guilt or hold those things in anymore about what troubles me or has troubled me. I had to internalize it. I'm still facing things that, again, no one is perfect, in this journey. It's that we're learning and relearning. So that it's just like these leaves, you're blossoming, it's unraveling. And so, yeah, whew. Is there anything else more? If not, I'll probably make a part 2 to this, because it's I'm sure it goes much deeper. But that journey, again, that journey, I never discussed it. I wasn't hesitant. I just knew I needed to discuss it and share it with you, because when it brings awareness to, for those of you that have daughters, men and women, these are the future mothers and grandmothers and so forth of the generation to come. And your young boys are going to meet these same women. So these little girls that grow into women, and what seeds are you planting, or what currently right now your actions, how is that affecting? Because it will, whether you know it or not, they pick up on our subconscious cues. They pick up on our subconscious fears and so forth, because it's all connected. And so, whether you're lying to yourself or not being honest, they still do pick up on that feeling. Like, it's okay to show yourself to you and to them. They do it all the time. And, again, a lot of us didn't have that opportunity. I didn't really have a lot of opportunities to show or to even express to the mother until like in my 30s or something about my the person who sexually abused me, like questioning her, like, you knew this person did this and did this, but I knew that I wasn't going to get the answer that I knew I deserved. I just had to keep pressing forward and realize, like, it was painful, but here I am now. And so that was another thing to where I had to let that relationship go and allow it to see if it was going to heal with my mother. And if not, I still had to move forward. But again, it's just the awareness around how we are. I know a lot of us want to have those conversations with the people that we experience these things with, and whether it be our caregivers, whether it be the person who actually we were a victim to, sexually, mentally, emotionally, verbally. And that's all in due time and in your duration. Because, like I said, going back to it, I didn't really have a lot of how to express my traumas, until certain relationships where I was like past 25 or 30. Like, it's wow. And that was that's the mental health awareness around everything, because me using this platform has a lot to do with a lot of men don't talk about these things, or me trying to find a safe place again within myself and feel worthy of talking about it. They have the courage to talk about it, things that most men will never discuss because either the peer pressure or the anxiety or the judgment around a father, a mother, or a family member, it's a lot to go into that. And I'm not to say they have to, but, you are needed. You are valuable, each and every one of us. So I'm just doing what I love and what I'm called to do. So, yeah. Yeah. Y'all take care of yourself. One foot in front of the other, one step at a time. And again, if you are inquiring or want to know more about this masterpiece, it is available as well as the other one. I'm gonna go grab it. That way y'all know. Sit in that chair, Lord. This one right here is also available. Water yourself. This one is also available. So if you're inquiring about that one as well, this is also available. The both of them, I think this one is just wide, a little bit wider, but not as long. So if you're inquiring about that, again, my email, I'll probably put it in the description. But my email, I love this masterpiece. Oh my gosh, man. Y'all, if y'all only knew, man, the things you go through bring you to where you are now. But yeah. So my email again is innerchild, that's with an I, 138. So inner, INNER, child, CHILD, 138 at iCloud.com. And whomever inquire about these masterpieces, contact me and we'll go from there with details. But y'all take care of yourself. Continue to water yourselves. Love on yourself. Because a part of watering yourself is facing who you are. Yes, sitting with your emotions, sitting with yourself, loving on yourself. It ain't that. I'm trying to tell you, man. I tell you daily, I'm still facing things, traumas, things still come up. And it's a process. So, I love y'all. I value you. I see you. You are needed. All right. Peace and blessings. Shalom.